Hello, everyone. I am Guillaume Caillard, Managing Director of the Cinemania Film Festival. Thank you for your presence. You've seen a wonderful film, Sympathy for the Devil, and we have the great pleasure to be with the director, the French-Canadian director, Guillaume de Fontenay. Hello, Guillaume.
Hello, Guillaume.
So Sympathy
And
for the Devil is a fantastic film, as we've seen. And my first question for you, Guillaume, is when did you hear about Paul Marchand for the first time, and why was it important for you to make a film about his presence in Sarajevo?
well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Galway Film Festival for having us. Thank you, Guilhem, for having me here and in Montreal as well at Cinemania Film Festival, at your festival. Um, Paul was for me, I first heard of him through Radio Canada, which is our TV in Canada. And so he was the correspondent from Sarajevo as a freelance. And so he was, for me at the time, the voice of Sarajevo. And he has this very peculiar thing. He was most of the time ending his reviews by saying, and all this in front of the uh, impassable gaze of the international community. And to me, that struck me because we literally were impassable um, in front of those. Almost, we've tolerated that for almost 4 years, this siege. And to me, it was shocking. And Paul was uh, very revolted by that, if I can say so. And expressing it directly in his comments to the major radio and TV in Canada, which is Radio Canada. So that's the first time I heard of him.
You've shot the film in Sarajevo. Why was it important for you to shot out there, and what was your feeling about the city?
Um, it was maybe just to complete what about Paul Marchand, because I understand there's no link. But so then, after being a war correspondent, Paul was also a writer, and he published this book in Quebec, which was called Sympathy for the Devil, which was his chronicles about his living there, and the expression of also what he lived as a war journalist, and the question it raised, and etc. And that book was published in 1997, and that struck me. And I wanted to do a theater play at the time, and then over the time I twisted it to a feature film, and this is where we started to work on the feature film in 2005. 2006 we started, and then I met Paul for real in 2006 as we started writing the script together until 2009, where he committed suicide. And then it took forever to do this movie. It was quite challenging, but Sarajevo then came very obviously. It was very clear for me that I had to shoot this there. In regard and in respect to those people who suffered this siege, to give back to what they've suffered, and also to be authentic and honest about the subject. So most of our team was from Sarajevo. Most of the people that you see on screen are from Sarajevo, and they've lived the siege. So that's giving us a very humbling position, if I can say, where you want to deliver something that would make justice to what they've suffered.
And you shot in the actual buildings, for instance, of the internet, where the international press is. It's the same building.
It is the same building. It's the same Holiday Inn, same building, same EBU building, which is a TV building of Sarajevo, which was quite modern at the time. It was done for the Olympics. The Olympics was there in '84 as the Holiday Inn, and it's the real Sniper Alley. it's the real place, it's the real people, and I had a tremendous team in Bosnia, extremely generous, professional, and talented. I'm thinking of Senda Popovac, for example, who did all the set design. She was just mind blowing, and she was 16 during the siege, so well 20 at the end, but she lived the siege, and so and her husband is working at hotels, so we literally had the computer of hotels and everything. But it was important for me to, it's a film on where Paul Marchand is a war journalist. And he was very well known in Sarajevo at the time, and so it was important for me to be accurate, and to that the journalist that sees that today would find it accurate and would find it strong, and yeah, it was a tough story to bring to the screen.
Okay, can you tell us about the format as part of your mise en scène? You've chosen a 4:3 format.
Yeah, the 4:3 format come from it was the format of the of the TV at the time, and so all the news would be shot in 4:3. So and it was something interesting also because it it kind of gives a more claustrophobic feeling because you don't have this width, and I didn't want to embellish war. So for me, it was very important to be square and finally shoot it kind of square, and to be very frontal to what I would see, and not try to make it beautiful or what. There was a certain honesty that was very important for me.
To play Guy Marchand, you've chosen a wonderful French Canadian, another one, actor, Neil Schneider, up and coming, more than up and coming. Can you tell us a bit more about this actor, and how did you work with him?
Niels, I have seen different actors in Paris, and Niels was one of them. Of course, I've heard him through Xavier Dolan's film and etc. But it really struck me how he was there. There's Niels has suffered the loss of his brother at a young age, and that, to me, I can see this in him. I can see that failure, and Paul has this failure as well. And it was important to me to show Paul, as much as he is making it a bravado. It was important to show that failure. That's really what interests me, in fact. So basically, Niels had that, and then we worked mostly on how he would behave. Long arms, uh, tall and skinny, always aware of what's around. So a lot of it was physical, and from that physical stance, the soul of Paul came in, if I can say. I mean, her sister saw the film on the world premiere, and she was struck. People who knew Paul was struck by how Niels was Paul. He became Paul, and actually, it stays with him for a month after shooting. And he came in Sarajevo earlier, also, as like all the main character. They all came in earlier to kind of feel and the vibe of the city, and feel the people, feel the what it is to be in the middle of that besieged city, surrounded by mountains. And this is the first image of the film, almost, is you see how vulnerable it is. And I want them to feel that, to be there, and to see, this is supposed to be a Muslim city. Muslim country. You know how, you know, Muslim are not different there than we are as Catholic. I don't know how, you know, practicant you are. I know I'm not, and most of the people I've seen there are not as well. They're, you know, as modern, as open-minded, and
Mhm.
cultured as we are. It's a mix of cultures. Right, it was a mix of culture between Jews, Orthodox, well, Serbian Orthodox, Croatian, uh, and Muslim, and all these community were all living together,
Mhm.
and that's something also that is in the movie.
So we are at the Galway Film Fest. It's a festival promoting European cinema, new European cinema. And your film is a co-production between three countries, Canada, Quebec more precisely, um, France, and Belgium. So why was it important for you to co-produce this film with three countries? And can you tell us a bit more about this experience of co-producing such a big film for 14 years between three countries?
It became natural. We started the writing the script in Montreal, as I'm a Montrealer, and then Paul came along in Montreal as well because we needed him to write the script. I mean, I'm not a war journalist, and we needed his views on it. Um, and then it was clear that France was closer to Bosnia than we are in Quebec. There was um, Belgium became natural as well, and
Mhm.
so it just became naturally a co-production that finally ended as a major co-production from France, and Quebec became a minority into the budget there. And then the film was shot in Bosnia, in Sarajevo. So we had a servicing company, Proba, in Bosnia, and they were fantastic, and all the film was done there. So basically, all the writing was done in Montreal, some post production in Montreal, and
Mhm.
some post production in Paris, and the prep in Paris.
Okay, last question about your experience with the audience and specifically you traveled a lot in festivals, festivals in Canada here and also international festival. Um, what was the reaction of the audience and do you have any comments about the feedback from the spectators?
We had, yeah, it's incredible when you travel with a film like this, how different reaction you have, and it's people were most of the time very moved by the film, very moved by seeing all those innocent uh, being victims of war. And I'm thinking about Syria, where we forget that it's innocent people that are the most and the greatest victims of all these war, especially women, children, and older people. Um, so most of the time, I had reaction actually from people from the UN
Mhm.
standing up in the room and saying thank you for the courage of this film. I had Bosnian, I had war journalists uh, that were struck by the justice of this film, the honesty of the film, and how accurate it was to the time. Um, and there was a Bosnian woman married to a Serbian man, and this is something that was very important for me to show, you know, the diversity of the people, how mixed couple would exist,
Mhm.
and how this was important for me to show. And she was so married with a Serbian man that defended Sarajevo against Serbian, and she said thank you for not making it a story
Mm,
and more a chronicle. And it's something, you know, it took me 14 years to build that, to shoot finally that movie. And it was because of that. Most of the people, the institution was saying, well, it's not a story, it's a chronicle, you know. And I said, well, I think that's the, you know, what you want to do. If I do a story, what story is it?
mm,
And yes, it's a chronicle. It's a time pass. You know, they're getting bored. They're passing checkpoints to another checkpoints, and I wanted to show how, you know, the guys at the Muslim Bosnian checkpoint or at the Serbian Orthodox checkpoint were the same guys.
mhm,
These are the same guys. I mean, the language is almost the same. There's like, I think less than 1% difference. You know, there's less of a difference between a friend from Paris than a friend from Marseille. There's more difference between those two than there is between a Serbian and a
mm.
Bosnian. So it was important for me to show, you know, the diversity and all this, and the reaction were lots of people crying, lots of people being very moved, and lots of people finally also, you know, finding in Paul something touching, even if he's an asshole in the beginning of the film and somehow during the film. And that was another challenge also to show someone that is kind of an anti-hero.
Okay. So thank you very much, Guillaume, and thanks to you, we'll remember this very strong sentence. Don't waste your bullet. I'm immortal. You helped everyone to remember the presence of Paul Marchand and what he did in Sarajevo. Thank you for this film. Thank you for your time. I would like also to thank Miriam Allen and Liz Quinn from the Galway Film Club. Thank you.
I would like to thank you and would like to thank again the Galloway Film Flat and the people there that looked at the movie. Thank you very much. It touched me. It really touched me to be there with you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Guilhem.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.